And welcome back. Yeah, they let us back. It's Sunday night, and true to form, we've got a special show for you tonight on a day, a momentous day at that, when the People Mover moved once again, and a weekend of football that, well, had many twists and turns. I've got to say, I don't have any complaints, but I know some people who will. Welcome back to Stephen. Nick's there as well, Nick. Do you know something, Charlie? You're gonna have to save us here, because I'll tell you one thing. This is gonna be a show and a half. We've got two Liverpool fans who have got a VAR rant probably up their sleeves. Spurs fan who is looking for a Dagenham and Redbridge season ticket next year, and I've got loads of other stuff I want to talk about. So it's Sunday night, guys. Welcome. It's good to see you all. And go on, Stephen, I'll start with you. Go on.
You know what? If there's a week for therapy, this is the week. Do you know what I mean? Last week we had a rant over the European Super League, and over the week, wow, it did not explode. Did that not explode whatsoever? But
I thought it was interesting, Stephen, before you go on with that. They waited until 7 minutes after we'd finished our show last week before they officially announced it. 7 minutes. Look at that. They knew we were talking about him. But yeah, what an amazing turnaround so quickly as well. So thankfully they listened. Go on, you go.
The first rant is on about not the ESL, it's about the Premier League, it's about the FA, it's about UEFA, and it's about FIFA. The only thing they were caring about when they were moaning about the European Super League was their own pockets. They were never caring about the fans. They need booting out, and they were all talking about the power struggle. It is, but I want the power struggle. I want the power struggle to be there, because I want the power taken from them people. But I don't want it taken from the people, from them, just to go to another bunch of people who are just going to line their own pockets and take it away from the fans. It needs to be now. Big movements in this country, the fans get behind it and start taking the game back to where it belongs, and that's with the fans. Rant's over. That's just where it needs to go with that first one.
I'm totally with that.
My second one, I think Charlie can have that one because he's got it in his title.
We'll come to that in a minute. I've got to say, and I think this is possibly where we left off last week, isn't it? You know, we discussed the German model where German fans have a 51% controlling stake in their football team, which I think is an outstanding one to stop the shenanigans that basically went on last weekend. You know, the back end of last weekend. You have 6 clubs who have completely annihilated any goodwill that they had with their fan base. As an Evertonian, I'm gonna turn this around, because on Tuesday morning I had an email from the chief exec from Everton Football Club, and her response to every single fan, and it was a person. It was, yeah, I know it was the same email. I know they only change your name at the very top when it says "Dear John," but I tell you one thing, it was so pertinent, and she was talking about the fact that, you know, as a board, we are custodians of your football club. They got it. They got what it is to be an Evertonian. They got what it is to actually understand the passion that every fan has for their own football team. And to actually see that before it all went belly up later on Tuesday. And I thought, you know, they came out early. They nailed the absolute colours to the mast. And I was proud. It was as proud as I would be if Everton were to lift a trophy. We've got a board, we've got a CEO who actually understands what it is to be an Evertonian. And I tell you one thing, I'd rather have that, and I'd rather have the knowledge that they're in it for the fans as well as themselves. I'm not gonna deny that. But for them to come out fighting, and the chairman was on Talk Sport on Tuesday morning and annihilated basically all 6 of those teams. And fair play to him. You know, he's a multi-millionaire, a billionaire, whatever he is. He's got loads of money to spend on our club, but he actually came out and he called them for what it was. Charlie,
that I think deserves mentioning, though, is you notice that I think we're talking owners, right? Because Klopp and the players had no idea. They're blessed.
Yeah, too right.
I don't know if that was a strategic move by the owners to leave them in the dark, so that way, if it did turn south on them, that we wouldn't hate the entire organization. Instead, we can hate the owners and still rally behind Klopp and the players, because the players all were like, "Hey, we don't want this either," and Klopp was like, "I don't want the Super League," so we could rally behind them, just put all the hate on the owners, and whether or not how they apologized, we can either forgive them or not forgive them or whatever. But I think if the players and Klopp were in on it too, then we would have a serious problem.
They weren't, no, and I think that's the bit that comes from every single club, is just how they were taken for granted. I would give a lot of credit to Jordan Henderson, because he seemingly got all the club captains together to actually say what's going on, to give it a unified players' response to it, and by that time, I think there was a definitive shift in the mood in the whole country. But for Jordan Henderson to do that, I thought was amazing. From a sporting point of view, Charlie, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure there's an awful lot of Red Sox fans who've never seen John Henry come out with such an apologetic statement so quickly. Because I'm pretty sure in all of his dealings with the Sox that they've had a tough times along the way. It took them a while to get it right. And for him to come out so quickly and actually to basically say, "Yeah, I got it wrong." I thought, flip, that's something else I've not. You don't often see owners coming out so readily as that either.
I'll say just before you jump in there, Charlie. There's something else I want to jump in on the back of John there, because he said the Red Sox. I've seen something come over in the press over here. Is one of the Boston Red Sox players had a Liverpool shirt on, and he said something about leave it the way it is, don't move it. Is that right? I remember something about that. One of the Red Sox players come out and done something.
Really, I've not seen that yet, Steve.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. Actually,
I think it transcends every sport. This, and I think when players start being talked about as just readily disposable, I was going to say people, but I'm trying not to swear. They're being used as items within a massive business, and it's wrong. And for them not to have been involved in this whole process was shocking. Yeah. I think what the players are already discussing now is trying to safeguard that for the future. I know some of the fans are trying to think about that on their own behalf. But goodness, what 72 hours of complete footballing chaos, and I think a hell of a lot of loss of face for so many owners. And I was so glad that we had that chat last Sunday. If somebody's watching this and hasn't seen it, go back and have a watch, simply because we were talking before it was actually announced. And an awful lot of what we spoke about last Sunday actually came into fruition. And I think an awful lot of what we spoke about last week was so heartfelt. It deserves going back and watching, because it probably lines up with what a lot of these fans who have gone and actually demonstrated outside football stadiums this week, irrespective of what team you support. And it moved with the mood of the country, and I was so pleased that we were able to have that chat last Sunday. And I think between the four of us, I think we were all united in our view that it was completely wrong. I know, Stephen, you've mentioned something else as we've chatted throughout the week, and that is the news this weekend of other people coming in and want to say, "Oh, I'm going to buy Liverpool for £3 billion" and all this. It's just people just chucking red herrings in and stuff like that.
It's for me, Tony. It's one of them people were more like get FSG out and stuff like that. Yeah. For me, I can't prescribe to that, and I understand where people are coming from. They're upset, and it's one mistake too many. They made a few now. Yeah. But all you're going to do is you're going to sell from one billionaire to another billionaire. You're expecting someone to spend £3 billion and still be in touch with the fans? No, you're not. It's not going to happen. It's a fantasy world. Just to go back onto the Boston Red Sox player, it was Xander
Bogaerts.
Bogaerts.
Is it Bogaerts? I'll have a
Xander
little look.
who come out and said something. Yeah. But £3 billion was offered. But in the article that I read, it was before the European Super League was mentioned. And then you've got the silly kind of money that the Glazers are wanting for Man United. £4 billion. They put an asking price on for them. £4 billion for a football club. That's just ridiculous. That's the kind of greed we're talking about here, guys. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. We're not anywhere other than greed. If FSG was to sell Liverpool for £3 billion, it was a club they bought for £300 million. Let's just get that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking what is that 1,000? I don't know. Depends on what billion you're talking about. Is it 1,000 more? Is it 1 million times more? I don't know.
It depends which version of a billion you go on. And it's money. It's money, Stephen. That we can only wish to have in our own pocket, isn't it?
I'd only like a little fraction of that, John.
Same here. And I think as well, and I think this is also important that rather than this just being about Liverpool Football Club, I think Man United fall very much in the same category, and they've got a set of owners that are rotten to the core, basically, because they've taken so much out of the club. And if there's any Man United fans watching, please get in the chat because we understand you. We understand your particular issue with the Glazers, irrespective of the fact that I love what they've done with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks, but come on.
Oh, do they own the Tampa Bay Bucks too?
Yeah, they own the Glazers. The Glazers are basically they've run the Bucks on a minuscule budget for years, and then they suddenly decide, well, I'll tell you what, we've made some money out of Man United. Let's pump some money into the Bucks and see what happens. Let's get Brady. Let's see if we can make it big. The whole franchise bit in Tampa has been absolutely brilliant. Can't deny that. Let's get some people from Tampa. Let's get some people from Tampa in the chat. Correct me if I'm wrong because I don't know enough about it. But to go and win a Super Bowl, fantastic. But they don't even turn up in Manchester. They're not interested in Manchester United. They're interested in making a quick amount of money out of that football club and have done so. They've. I mentioned last week about my local team, and my local team, Scarborough, were a football league team at one point, and they had an owner that basically came in and asset stripped on a much smaller scale, I hasten to add, but basically stole any form of profit, stole every single asset that the club had until they were left mortgaged up to the hilt, and United are mortgaged up to the hilt, and that's the bit where this doesn't sit right for me with your Man United's. Certainly doesn't sit right with Arsenal because Kroenke's the same. Nick, you probably have a better idea at Spurs, but there's something rotten. There's something rotten in all of this, and the whole thing coming from was it JP Morgan and all this, and if you're going to fund something via a bank loan, like I'm not being funny with you, it's not going to work, is it?
Especially in this the crisis we're in at the moment.
Absolutely.
Who's earning that sort of money?
Yeah.
But I mean, with the likes of all these, let's take the Big Six as an example. All their owners, they're just using these teams as a play toy. That's all it is. It is a massive hobby. Roman Abramovich started it. Now the Glazers are like, oh yeah, no, we'll have a bit of that, and now Fenway have come in and they're toys. That's all they are, really expensive toys to these owners. They don't care who they're annoying fan-wise. If it's earning me money, great. If it ain't, toss it aside. It's someone else's problem. I mean, you just got to look at the way Newcastle went.
I was trying not to mention them, Nick, because they've probably got one of the skintest owners of all time, since he owns every shop on every high street in the whole of the UK that's shut.
Yeah,
it's either shut or shutting down.
Yeah, he's bought this thing as a play toy. Now it's not earning him any money, and he's really struggling to put money in it. He's like, I need someone to buy this quick.
Let's put it this
He
way:
wants
the players aren't on a 0 hours contract with him.
I'd say the other thing with Newcastle, and I don't get me wrong, I have got a massive soft spot for Newcastle United as a football club. I hate the owner and I hate the manager. I have a lot of time for an awful lot of Newcastle fans and an awful lot of time for the passion that they have for their football team, and their owner is a crook. I don't think there's any other way of describing it. But the other side is you start looking at that list of people who he's entertaining to try and buy the team. And I've been there as an Evertonian and actually seen the people that have come in and sniffing around your football club. And you've got to be very, very careful for what you wish for. It's as well saying that we want this, some nice person from the Middle East to come and buy us because they on paper they look as if they're very, very rich. Some of them are not, and I'd also tell a tale because if anybody follows Spanish football, I've been attached to Malaga Football Club for a great period of time, and Malaga basically had the same happen to them as happened at Scarborough, where somebody came and completely ripped the club financially from the inside, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen, but it does because he was an Arab prince, and he allegedly had money. He didn't have two halfpennies to rub together. I've had more money in my back pocket than this lad had, and he came and he ripped the club, and the club still suffering that financial sort of complete catastrophe. This was a club that I think they qualified for Champions League probably about 10 years ago, and have just been completely torn apart. It's wrong, and I can get on my high horse about all kinds of other teams, but Newcastle have got to be careful, and I just want their fans to actually have an owner that understands what they're all about.
That's it. I think that's all we're ever after is an owner that understands the fans, can be in touch with the fans. I know FSG are not perfect. I know they've made some big mistakes, like the £77 ticket, the furlough on the staff, the European Super League, and one of the things I've seen now, I know a lot of Liverpool, you're a Liverpool fan, let us know. If you're watching this live or otherwise, let us know what your thoughts are. Is that I've seen a lot of Liverpool fans talk about, well, the net spend is one of the lowest in the league. Don't really invest in the team, and I'm sort of like, well, I like that. That for me is something I like, because the reason I like that is because you're not in a Chelsea situation, you're not in a Man City situation where the owners are pumping money and pumping money and pumping money. That can never be sustained. Yeah. What FSG have always said is you need to build up. We'll build you up, but we'll always build you up on your own finances, and that's great, and that's what they've done. Whether they're milking the club like George Gillett did, I don't know. But the fact that they've invested in a new stadium and a new training ground as well would suggest that they're actually putting the money where their mouth is as well. I'm not saying they're perfect. They're still billionaires. They're still out of touch with the fans. And they still need putting into check now and again. But in terms of that kind of allegation, I was like, well, I didn't quite understand it. But maybe if you're a Liverpool fan, I'm a Liverpool fan, Charlie's a Liverpool fan. Maybe, Charlie, you've got a view on it. I don't know. But if you're a Liverpool fan, let us know, whether you're watching this live or not. Let us know in the comments below what you think of that. Because I just don't understand it. I don't understand that bit. Actually. Yeah.
No, I think it's a really good call, that Stephen. And Charlie, what's it like from your perspective? Because you came out with a line last week, and I don't wish to labour this point, and there's loads more we can talk about for this weekend. But you came out with a point last Sunday, and you were getting the breaking news from was it New York Times that broke the story in the States about exactly what was going on. What's been the perception in the States? Because a lot of this model and a lot of this whole notion of having a closed league fits in quite well with the MLS model in some respects, and yet it doesn't in others, because MLS is very much on that shared sort of ownership. I'm thinking now of how the salary cap kicks in, and how already Inter Miami with David Beckham or the backside kick because they've signed too many players and so on. You know, what's the perception from people in the States?
I think it's a big difference. From over in the States, you know, we create a league, right? And we don't have like 100 teams where we're to have a huge amount of football teams out there, and we're trimming the fat or we're cutting people out. You know, we just recreate a league, and you have teams from whatever that have initiated the league. They started in the league when the league started itself. So we're never trimming out people. So it's like it's not like we've ever been involved with trying to limit who's in the league or saying, okay, only so many people, only these teams are going to be in the league. So it's not like we have like the amount of teams over in England. It's not the same thing over here. So I don't think it's like that. I don't, you know, to touch upon what Stephen had said before, you know, UEFA and FIFA and all those that were acting so, you know, like holier than thou, saying, "Oh, the Super League is evil." They have major problems, and they can't be. I don't want them turning, you know, the anger of the fans or the passion of the fans, and misconceiving that, oh, that's approval of them. All of a sudden, it's like, no, you guys are screwing up too. You guys are in there for the money. You're in there for the money grab. You're power hungry as well. You know, I don't want them. You know, now they're looking at these 6 teams like, oh, now we can punish you because we have the fans behind us. I don't like that at all. I would have rather had, like, if you're talking the big teams, you know, from England and Germany and Italy, they should have gotten together to force, you know, UEFA and FIFA and them to share the money or to redo the league, or how they do the Champions League, how they should have gotten together and used their influence to affect how the program is run, if you want to say. They should have used their influence that way instead of trying to do a money grab type of thing. And forming a Super League to compete against them, that was totally taken the wrong. I think, you know, it was totally, that in itself was a money grab. You don't defeat one money grab by creating a totally different money grab. You know what I'm saying? They should have tried to work out the bad parts of the existing league. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Forever the voice of reason, Charlie. That's why I asked you. No. You have such a fantastic overview of exactly the common sense solution to all of this. I'm aware that I don't think we wanted to talk about this again tonight. I'm aware I want to move it on, but I would also add everybody. The chairman of Real Madrid, during the course of last Monday and into Tuesday, put out what I thought was a series of very, very bizarre statements. One of them, though, was he actually admitted to the debt that Real Madrid actually are carrying. I haven't got it written down. It's monumental. Wow. And as much as I made the statement last Sunday, and I've made it before about Spanish football being bankrupt, and last Sunday I think I used the word they were morally bankrupt. He's even gone further down in my estimation. The debt is an absolute crime. And how on earth UEFA haven't gone chasing after them for FIFA, financial fair play? They're skint. They haven't got anything. And who needs the money from these clubs? He's the one who needs the money. And don't forget, in the contract for the Super League, Barcelona and Real Madrid were going to get paid more than any other team. Hang on a second. I'm not signing up for that.
Yeah.
And my team wasn't even involved. I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, I had another question maybe you guys could answer for me, because I've read a couple times during the collapse of the Super League that I guess the person that is running the Super League, they're saying that the team signed a binding contract that it's not over with? Can they not get out? Is there a possibility that they can't get out of it, or what's going on with that?
I think from what I've heard, Charlie, they're out. It was only ever agreements in principle. It was never an agreement signed on the dotted line. There was always that wait until. That's the news I'm hearing. I'd be shocked if any of these guys have signed into something, that they can't get out of and they've decided to get out of straight away. It would have been, for me, I don't think the jump out would have been as quick as you'd have seen it. Is if these guys, don't forget, these guys are shrewd businessmen, they don't.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
They're not.
I personally think that goes with the point that I've just said. And I think it's the two Spanish teams, Juventus have put themselves, we haven't formally withdrawn. But the two Spanish teams are basically looking at seeing if they can hoover up any of the fines that they can actually put against any of these other teams and take any money out of it so they can put it in their own back pocket.
Possibly.
That's my reading of the situation. JP Morgan came out Thursday, Friday, didn't they? And said that we are not putting up the money that we said that we would give as a loan.
Yeah,
and that's frightening. But was it Perez from Real Madrid is still harping on the fact that JP Morgan haven't fully withdrawn. They're just weighing up their options.
Yeah.
I know exactly what that option would be sat if it was an accountant sat for JP Morgan, and I know exactly where some of that would be, and it would be a firm two-fingered salute to everything that's gone on.
John, right? It was what stunk as well is after that announcement. So it was after the show last week. Was what come out was it was to help with the impacts of COVID. Well, that just stunk. That set a big rat out everywhere. And I just knew the Spanish. What we were talking about last week was the Spanish clubs struggling. They're really in the bad situation. But you know what? They've only got themselves to blame. Buying players, £100 million for this player, £150 million for that player. Who can survive on that? You can't do that.
If anyone wants to look at the effects of COVID and the effects of a league being cancelled, you have to look no further than there was a national league in this country where the team at the bottom, Dover Athletic, have decided that from the conference, they're not going to play any more games because actually they can't afford to pay any of the staff. So they basically had all of their results from the time that they played totally expunged, because there's no promotion or relegation from that league. Every other league below that has been null and voided for the whole season. All of those teams, all the staff are furloughed. The football clubs are struggling massively. That's where the issue is. That's the real money issue in this country is trying to support clubs that are on the complete breadline. And when you're talking about multi-millions and multi-billions and this, that, and the other, some clubs just need, some clubs would live on £50,000. It would just make such a difference. And why some of the Premier League clubs don't come out and try to make that link with what's going on. Even League 1 and 2 clubs must be suffering. We need to look much closer to home. We need to be much more aware. And I've got to say, I want to move the show on. But this is something I think we all feel so passionately about. We could talk about this even in weeks when there's only one game of football. We'll come and talk about the big greedy boys are not going to get away with this. And I think that the actual past week in football has shown that they basically got their backsides kicked. And I'm damn glad they did. And they got found out for being lying, insert word of choice there. And I don't know. I said to my kids, and when it all came to fruition, what was it, Tuesday night? I turned around to my kids and I just said, "There's so many football. Of those 6 football clubs, have got so much that they need to go back to their fans and basically grovel. Yeah. And if they don't grovel, I tell you, I'd take my money elsewhere. I really would. Anyway, can we move on, guys? Because Nick's been so quiet for half an hour.
He's been
and-
stewing over there, bubbling.
He has, and I also would I would share his. We always share his ire, his disgust. Thankfully, amidst all of the shenanigans of Super Leagues in Europe and all this, Spurs decided to get rid of Jose Mourinho. Like, Charlie, did you send them a letter? That's all I was going to ask.
And if you did, Charlie, can you make sure it's in much more permanent ink than the one you sent to Jürgen?
Nick, you're for background for everyone else. Nick's a Spurs fan.
No,
He's
not.
suffered. He's
Not anymore.
They had a cup final at Wembley today, which is out with the Premier League. So if you're watching in America, you probably would not be aware of that, because it's like a cup competition that really nobody really sort of gives an awful lot of credence for. But Man City won it for the fourth year in succession, and Spurs basically they were wearing green, Nick, and I think they were in that nice away kit that was green. So when history comes back, it doesn't look like a Spurs kit, so you might get away with it.
Yeah, it was green.
But it was the Spurs performance. That's
It certainly was. Nick, the rest of the show's yours, mate. I'm off.
Right, is everyone sitting comfortably? That's the first thing. I'd like to say thank you for the 10 people that are watching. You're in for a treat. Right, so I'd say the only good thing from that cup final was having 4,000 supporters there. That was pretty much it. I think the fact that the supporters are now, well, they was basically used as guinea pigs, let's be fair. I can't see why they was only using one side of the stadium.
I think it was to make it look busier on the TV, Nick.
Yeah, I think
the other side as well. And I give you Spurs fans the credit for it. You got a corner about midway through the first half, and the round of applause that came from the Spurs fans. Yeah. I didn't know whether it was sarcasm or irony, but it was lovely, and it was so nice to hear. Apart from all of that tune, that sort of horrible noise that you get on the TV. It was proper fans being completely sarcastic and completely ironic. And actually, it was Spurs fans probably at their best, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're just sick of it now. And I feel sorry for Ryan Mason, because he's going to be Tottenham's whipping boy if everything goes wrong. He's going to be shown at fault today for saying, well, yeah, all right, he's young in management, he's only 29, and he's inherited this team, but he's the one who's got to do the tactics. No, don't be silly. It's got nothing to do with him. He's now Daniel Levy's mouth, isn't he? Let's be fair. He's going to be another yes man. He's like when he's even come out and said with all the Super League and everything. Well, I'm concentrating on this. Oh, do me a favour. Anyway, let's try and pick out some positives.
Dig deep.
The game kicked off on time.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I always go for as an appraisal thing at work. Started on time.
Oh, brilliant, George. Brilliant.
I think that's about it. Let's move on to the cons, shall we? Right. Where do we start? Son, non-existent today. Didn't want to play. Everything he touched turned wrong. I don't know why he didn't start with Gareth Bale. I would have brought on Moura second half, because he's a lot faster than Gareth Bale, and he would put frighteners up, because Moura was running them ragged at points, and then he drags him off. And Lo Celso in the second half started to pick up a bit, and then he takes him off, and you think, what is going on here? Harry, let's pass it back, Winks, because he doesn't know forward. The sooner he leaves the club, the better. Harry Kane, there was one incident in the second half. I think it was around about 74 minutes, 75 minutes. Spurs on the counter-attack, 4 against 2. Oh no, I'll get the ball and I'll hold it just in the third, and then I'll pass it back.
Yeah.
Spurs at the beginning of the season and last season would have been pelting City up and down that pitch. No one. It was just like they were scared to go any further than 75% of that pitch. No one wanted to press. You could see the defence. Our defence was anyone going to move, or should we just pass it across the back area? Because that's all they were doing. Dyer by name, Dyer by nature. It says a lot when you say my man of the match was Aurier, and he conceded the foul for the goal. He was the only one that was putting himself about. Oh, and Lloris. I'll give Lloris his due.
Well, he made some good saves there next today. If it wasn't for Lloris, before it was over.
That could have easily been 4-5-0.
Yeah, that first half, I thought Spurs come out and he looked nervous. They looked like they just didn't know. They were like the proverbial rabbit in between two headlights. That's what they looked like in the first half. But in the second half, they were a bit more of a chance for themselves. Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I can't explain the mentality of that team at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only go so far as to say there's some sort of psychological block that's happening with that team where nothing is clicking. But surely, well, I don't know. You're getting paid a lot of money. Maybe they've just got to a point where they're like, nah, we don't care.
There was a fascinating incident about midway through the second half, and Spurs had a very, very good attack, and the ball was passed to Højbjerg, who was running into the
where Reguilon stopped. Was that where Reguilon stopped?
No, I don't think Reguilon did stop. Just I think gave him an absolute diabolical ball, and then gave him the most amazing amount of abuse in return. It was fascinating because to me it showed that a real lack of care for your teammate, and actually it was Højbjerg's fault because he'd made an absolute cobblers of the pass. Yeah. But to then start calling Reguilon out, I just thought I couldn't understand that, and I just thought, no, there's something bigger than just Jose Mourinho in all of this.
Yeah, I was when I see that, I was listening to the commentary on it. I can't remember because I was flicking through so many different streams because I haven't got it on the telly.
Yeah.
I think it was actually Gary Neville. I managed to find a Sky Sports stream where he says, when you're in that position, the last person you want is for Højbjerg to be the person that's going to have a shot. If you can't hit the target from 5 yards out, you shouldn't be playing professional football. Yeah. And for him to then think, oh, I'm going to pass it to Reguilon, what's he going to do? He's not going to shoot from where you're passing it to. He's going to smash it across the face of the goal. From where you are, cut it on your right and hit it as hard as you can. That is all you've got to do. No finesse shot. Not, I'm going to try and curl it into the top corner or the bottom corner or try and nutmeg it. Just hit it as hard as you can because the keeper ain't catching it. And if he parries it, it's going to someone.
Yeah.
So for the decision that Højbjerg made was totally wrong, and for the abuse that he sort of called Reguilon out for, I thought was out of order.
I thought so.
But
I tell you,
sorry guys, it's one where he was going into the penalty box and he just passed it to the left.
Reguilon was overlapped.
It all trickled down the play. Yeah.
That could have. He could have. Like I said, hit it as hard as you can. Got 50-50 chance. It goes in, it doesn't. Not pass it out of play because someone's running onto it in the 6-yard box. That's a ridiculous decision.
Regulations on it.
Yeah, I think Nick as well, and I'm gonna twist this a little bit because as Disney fans in particular, I started the game with your game on the TV, and I was watching the stream from Josh and Jenna at Resort TV 1 on my phone. After about 20 minutes, I'd switched it, I'd flipped it, so that I was actually watching. I was watching the Resort TV 1 streaming the People Mover reopening again, and then your game on my phone because actually it was just one-way traffic for City, and I was so surprised it actually took them that long to actually score a goal.
But
And actually,
some players were doing the same thing, John. Don't worry about
it. But just going round and round and round. It's just like, and
But the thing
it
that
was bizarre,
hurts me the most, is Laporte shouldn't have even been on the pitch.
yeah,
He shouldn't have been. He
Yeah,
shouldn't have. That was a second yellow.
They were talking about this. There was a couple of incidents in the first half where he could have got 2
They
yellow cards.
were professional fouls. They weren't malicious fouls. They were professional fouls. Both deserved a booking. He shouldn't have been on the pitch.
Yeah.
That's the letter of the law.
I think that leads us nicely into the next segment as well. But the one thing I would say, Nick, and I would take this from Spurs' performance today, is like, I don't think there's anything worse as a football fan when your team is at Wembley and you leave it out there. You don't actually perform. You don't turn up on the day. It leaves a really sour taste because actually, for all it's been cup games, and you're playing extra games, and you think, well, why the hell did we bother? Why did we go? Why did we go to that extreme of trying to get through all this cup competition? We get to Wembley, and then they didn't put anything in. Kane was anonymous all game, which is something I've said this before, and I'm fearful for England actually when it gets to the Euros. It gets to big games, and he kind of goes missing. And most of the game today, he was playing centre midfield.
I would say with Kane at the minute, his mind is in the Euros already.
Yeah.
He's forgotten about Tottenham. Tottenham are a lost entity at the moment. We've got 7 games left.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're not getting Champions League. I'm probably going to leave at the end of the season. Let me think about the Euros. I need to be fit for the Euros. He don't care about Tottenham anymore. Let's be frank. He doesn't want to be.
And Son at the end seemed remarkably upset. And I was quite surprised at that. And that was like, for someone who's and if you guys can keep having a dig at me for Van Dijk, for Son being somebody who doesn't mind breaking someone's leg at Goodison, as in Andrea Gomez, and not showing any emotion from that. He was very emotional at the end of the game, and I just thought, do you know something? That again was. Has he got an exit plan? I don't know, Nick. I'm just.
Somebody
tell him it wasn't the FA Cup final or something.
I like Son because I think he enjoys playing. He reminds me a little bit, not as like the skill set or anything, but he reminds me a lot of Ronaldinho. He always plays. He wants to play football. He enjoys playing football. He enjoys what he does, and I think he gets more upset with himself because he feels like he's always letting people down.
Okay.
Always feels like he's letting people down. But I think that's maybe it's quite stereotypical of me, but I think that's the Korean culture. They always want to please people. They always want to please someone.
Well,
so
at least one person in the Spurs squad feels that way then, because the rest of them didn't look as if they gave a monkeys. The rest of them looked as if they didn't give a stuff. And that's where I felt for you, Nick, because I know I'd sent you a message before the game wishing you good luck, and actually, it could have been 7 or 8 by half time, couldn't it? So
yeah, it was ridiculous, and it's got to a point now where I'm no longer going to watch any more of the Tottenham games this season because I think what's the point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I'm even questioning just knocking Premier League football on the head and supporting a local team full stop because I've had enough of it.
Yep.
It's just the same story. It's the same story week in, week out, and I'm getting sick to the back teeth of these players. It's crocodile tears for me. We try our best, and I'm sorry, you don't. You're getting paid £150,000 a week to kick a bag of wind about. And
more if your name's Gareth Bale.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we've moved on from the Super League thing, but I watched an interview with Harry Kane. I think it was on Soccer AM or something, and I was interviewing him, and I asked him about the Super League, and he was like, "Well, yeah, we was totally. If you're totally against it, come out and say you're totally against it. Don't just wait until everything's blown over and then come out." and say it.
Yeah.
That's what annoyed me the most. You've got all the fans doing all the donkey work, and you're there behind the scenes. If you're not happy with it, come out as a captain and say, no, I spoke to all the players. We're totally against this Super League. If it happens, we will boycott this team.
Do you know?
And I think you'd have a lot more respect from the fans saying
I'd forgotten
out
about that until you mentioned it. And was it Maguire and Luke Shaw at Man United had gone and had was it Milado at Man United, and he's then resigned because of his doings with actually setting it up. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's the one, Ed Woodward, who's you know, I think the hatred for him is probably as good as the Glazers. But I tell you what, you know, I'd forgotten about that, and fair play to them, because I think there would have been a time where players would have been fearful of doing that. And I wonder if Spurs is still an organisation where you don't want to upset the owner, you don't want to upset the board. You'd make, you know, and it would have been a prime week to come out and show a bit of leadership from Kane, given the fact that your manager had been sacked and you'd only found out 10 minutes before.
Yeah, I don't think he had. I think he knew he was on his way out way before that. But how can I put it? It's a sort of a calculated risk you need to take as a player, especially if someone of, for example, Harry Kane's stature at the moment. He's England captain. He's not club captain, but he's. We'll put him in the bracket of a world-class player. He's very well known across the planet at the moment because he's good at what he does, and he's young with it. So you'd have to sit there and think, I'm going to take a calculated risk by calling the owner out and saying what you're doing is wrong, and I will speak to my squad about it. And if this goes ahead, we will not play, because let's be fair, the owner of Spurs is not going to go, fair enough, I'll sell you all.
Yeah.
Because that's going to hurt him a lot more than it's going to hurt them. So it's a calculated risk. You'd have to sit down and think, do I keep my mouth shut and just play ignorant? Or do I come out and go, no, what you're doing is wrong? But there we go. But we'll move back off of Super League, or not so Super League, as we'll call it now.
I will move away from Spurs and not Super Spurs as well.
Yeah. Can we move on to the West Ham game?
I tell you what, and again, just if anyone's watching, make sure you click on the thumb ups button if you're enjoying the chat. You know, it's nice to know that there's people there. Come and join us in the chat as well. We've been really quite limited in our chat so far, guys. We've done European Super League. We've done Nick's therapy for the week. Everyone else has been very quiet. And I'm going to make Stephen and I'm going to make Charlie wait before we talk about Liverpool, because actually, there are other games. As you've just alluded to there, Nick, you know, I watched the game yesterday. Yeah.
Just to jump in. With the West Ham game, there's a specific decision I'd like to have everyone's opinion on.
Yeah.
Because no doubt my opinion. So if anyone watched the West Ham Chelsea game, there was a very dubious decision that happened with resulting. I can't remember his name, but a West Ham player got sent off for a tackle on Ben Chilwell, was it?
Yeah. Balbuena. Tackle, yeah.
So I'd just like to get everyone's opinion. Do you think it was a red card or not? So we'll start with Steve.
I didn't watch the game, so I can't say. I didn't
see
that.
So we'll move on.
I didn't get to see that one either. Although I read something that someone was upset about someone getting a red card for clearing the ball. Did he?
Yeah.
Is that what they're talking about? He was clearing the ball and
he got the red card for clearing the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know. What happened?
Then, John, I think you're going to probably say.
I've got to say, when I watched this and when I saw it on the replay for VAR, my reaction was, that's a red, right? Because I'm watching it in slow motion. I'm watching it from an angle that is not a natural angle to be watching it. I was then corrected by my son. I said, and he actually turned around to me and said, where is he meant to put his leg because he's cleared the ball. His front foot, after he's cleared the ball, has planted, and then he's searching his foot, searching for somewhere to go down. He's got nowhere to put that foot. I then looked at it again, and I thought, my son, and I take my hat off to my son because he is a referee. He worked, and he is a qualified referee, even though he's under 18, but he knows his stuff. And he was right again, which is equally as annoying. But it was spot on. It should never even have got to the stage of being a yellow card. The player had cleared the ball. He cleared his lines. There was nothing to answer for at all. 5 minutes later in the same game, there was an incident with, was it a Kufal and Rudiger? And Kufal had made exactly the same clearance. So you're clearing the ball and you're clearing the ball long. For want of a better description, you're hoofing it. Your standing leg is there. You clear the ball, so your body's moving forward. So as that leg moves forward, it's going to contact anything. And I actually thought Rudiger was very clever because he slid across and he sought some form of contact as that ball had gone. Now, the referee never blew for that. And if you're going to send off Balbuena for the incident that he was sent off for, in the circumstance of being consistent and actually keeping to the rules of the game that were obviously outlined by VAR for some bizarre reason, then Kufal should have gone as well. And it never even got whistled. So 2 incidents in 5 minutes that completely baffled me. And I've got to say, I don't think neither of them were a foul. Neither of them were worthy of any form of retribution from a referee. And if that's what you're going to get sent off for, I tell you what, if I was a striker, I'd be learning how to just slide in like Rudiger did and just roll around and make a noise anytime a defender clears the ball. It was ridiculous.
Just me then. I thought it was red.
No.
And I'll tell you why. This is my thinking behind it.
Yeah.
Going back to Spurs Everton, like you said earlier, Son broke Andre Gomez's leg.
Yeah.
Purely accidental. There was no malice in it. Was a tough challenge, but it was purely accidental when he got sent off for that.
Yeah.
So he in the yesterday's game, he's cleared the ball, but he's come down on Ben Chilwell's leg. Any higher, he would have broke his leg.
Yeah.
So even though it's accidental, the studs are up. And I know what you're saying with he's got
that was my first reading of it, Nick. And I've got to say, I was adamant when I first saw it. It was a red.
And you could probably
because I actually thought there was a second movement in his foot. Actually, he cleared it, and then he went for the player.
Slow mo. It looks like he really tries to bring his foot down hard.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, if you're trying to find your footing, you want to find it quick. I get that. So even though it's an accidental thing, it's a reckless challenge. So you may want to ask your son about the laws of the game and that, but if it's a reckless challenge, there's a consequence for a reckless challenge. Yeah. You can't go, sorry, it was only an accident. If that happened, like I said, when Son broke Gomez's leg, there was no malice behind it. It was 2 players going in for a challenge. One has come off worse. He got sent off for it.
I think as well in the Son case, there was another. I can't remember what the Spurs defender's name was. There was a push in Gomez's back, and I can't remember. I'm not even going to go back there.
Well,
there was a push there. The other side. The other side to all of this.
Sorry, John. Before you move on from that, there's another challenge that we need to discuss here on whether it's a malice or a red card or something like that. There's a goalkeeper, right? He plays out of Goodison Park. And his name's Well, definitely malice. He's in that one.
Stephen, are you auditioning? You're auditioning for the BBC every time Everton are on the telly, aren't you? It's just like, oh, well, welcome to Goodison Park, where Virgil van Dijk was massacred earlier in the season, and unfortunately, due to Jordan Pickford, Virgil van Dijk will never be able to walk ever again alone.
He'll never have kids. He'll never be able to walk him up the aisle. I think
I just throw that in there on a serious debate on a Morris challenge and whether it is a red card or not a red card. If it's touch and go there, if it's touch and go, then Jordan Pickford should not even be playing for the rest of the season.
Do you know something? And it's in the realms of that, isn't it? And this is where we need the whole of this murky little seedy referees club sorted out, because to be honest, even tonight I was watching the Villa West Brom game tonight. There was a penalty given in that. It wasn't a penalty, and you're just like, can you just wake up to yourselves? Let's stop looking at the video. Let the referee make the decision. If it's totally clear and obvious, I go back to MLS. MLS have got it great because they tell the referee, go and have a look at the screen, see what you think, and make your decision from there. None of this sort of, I think that's a bit wrong. Oh, go and have a, no, I think that's a penalty.
It's like
let the referee referee his game.
Because isn't there talk that they're saying they're going to allow audio between the referee and VAR teams?
I think they've got the audio already. That he's being talked to in
at home. Yeah, for people at home.
I tell you, if we start hearing that,
yeah. And I'll take it back to a few shows ago. I think that they should do what the NFL referees do and say, right, totally. Make a decision. Totally. Now explain to 70,000 people why you made that decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would make the game more interesting, wouldn't it? You'd have to draft in a lot more police.
I actually felt that actually ruined that game yesterday, because I actually felt West Ham had a chance of getting back into it. I will also go back and just before the Liverpool fans sort of steal the show, because I think there was an opportunity in their game. You know, I'm gonna start with the Everton game on Friday night, and as biased an Everton fan as I could ever be, right? Arsenal were given a penalty, which was then chalked off by VAR because somebody somewhere this side of the moon was offside. And I just thought, do you know something? You are having the biggest laugh in the world. One, it was never a penalty. Secondly, it was never an offside. And they are using a VAR. They can't change the penalty itself. I think it was Danny Ceballos. He basically, somebody, I think it was Richarlison, had at best touched his shin pad. At worst, it wasn't. In fact, at worst, it was he touched it, and he went down like a sack of spuds. Ref blew for a penalty. We then go to VAR. Oh, because it looks as if you've touched him. Oh, it's got to be a penalty. And then they found this bizarre offside, and I'm like, for crying out loud! And why don't you just go back and say it's not a penalty? The lads dived. You can't give penalties for that. Because to be honest, you can't. He should have been booked for diving, similar to the lad at West Brom today. You know, the Villa player barely touched him. If it was going down that line, use the technology to actually help, not to hinder. Because I tell you, we're on this. They're actually making the rules up as they go.
That's a pet peeve of mine too, you know, because I think the fans need to come down not only just on VAR, you know, have it work somehow, you know, it's just, or you get rid of it, but they also need to start coming down on these players. It drives me nuts how many they're taught to dive from a young age, you know, dive for this, dive for that, get the penalty, draw the free kick or whatever, get it however you can. Which is insane. It drives me nuts. You know, you have to run me over with a plow for me to look for a penalty. You know,
Yeah.
it's just these people need to grow up. They need to stop getting. They need to get out of that mentality. They need to bring back old school football and say, you know, man up. You know, stop falling down of the least slight breeze that knocks you down. Stop it. You know, because they have a big part of ruining the game of themselves. You know, it's like
Yeah.
when everyone's diving here and there, it's like, you know, it's not just the refs, it's not just VAR. The players have a part to play too. You know, it's like man up and stop being little babies. You know, you want to win properly. Don't win by okay, you dove 10 times and you got 5 fouls out of it. When you know that's not football. It's like play the game the way it was supposed to be played.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rant over.
what would scare defenders more if you was a forward? The fact that this burly defender has just rallied through you and you get up, or the fact that you're rolling around crying like a girl. Not that I'm saying all girls will cry.
No, I was
because
gonna
they've been
say
tackled
that because we're not allowed to say that anymore. Because otherwise that's dangerous being offensive.
What would put the frighteners up a defender more? The fact that he's kicked you 10 foot in the air and you've gone, try again next time, mate.
Exactly.
And they'd be like, oh my God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not to blow my own trumpet, but I used to do exactly the same when I don't care how much it hurt, I'm getting up.
Yeah.
Because nothing's going to put you more up at unease than me getting up from what you thought was a really, really hard tackle.
But you also look at someone like Lionel Messi, who is not the biggest or the most sort of biggest stature of player on a football pitch, and how much he's been kicked from pillar to post throughout his entire career against some of the very best Spanish La Liga defenders, and he has been kicked from pillar to post.
Yeah.
And every time he's like, was it one of them weebles in it? Yeah, I wobble, but I won't fall down. I'll get back up and I'll go and score. And that's what we need. We need players like that. You know, there was a great example in the Spurs game earlier, Nick. I don't know if you'd noticed it. Was it De Bruyne had gone to kick the ball? It was in midair. He'd missed the ball completely, which was unusual for De Bruyne. But the Spurs defender then decided that he was going to fall over. And there was no contact made. Absolutely none. And the defender gives that big yell, referee, whistle to the mouth. It's a free kick. The players are conning the referees at the minute. And I think we need to do something about it.
Even in the same game, Phil Foden, I think he had a few lumps taken out of him.
He did.
Yeah, got up, got on with it. And
I love that mentality with Foden. And I think going back to our chat about the Euros a couple of weeks ago, do you know something? I think we start with Foden. Foden just looks top notch to me.
He does.
Before he's first on my team sheet.
His touch, his control, his pace, his strength, he's got it all.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. Him and Rashford, I'd have him and Rashford up at the top. I would have the two up there.
I'd start with him and Sterling up top with Kane just behind them two to feed them.
Yeah.
That'd be frightening.
I'm just aware, guys. Time is absolutely cracked on. Charlie, your favorite other team this week, actually did you proud. The mighty Sheffield United got a win against Brighton, which I'm part of a group of we play last man standing, and loads of people had bailed in on Brighton to beat Sheffield United, and we're now in a rollover. So I've got a lot to thank for Sheffield United for this weekend because it's just like it's made that rollover that little bit more interesting. The other game as well today, I just Villa drew with West Brom.
Wolves, Burnley. Wow, what a game.
4-0
I didn't get to see
Burnley.
that either. Was it good though, or
First half hat-trick from Wood. What a game. Burnley were out of this world. That's a game I did watch from the start to the end. It's the most interesting game I've watched in a long time. It was brilliant. Burnley just took Wolves apart. Wolves would be doing the passing through the park from the back through to the forward on the floor, and he'd normally get away with it. But Burnley would just come on it, and then he was straight up the other end. The first half, he just couldn't be touched. Just couldn't be touched in the first half.
It was the performance that Burnley had been storing up for like months.
Definitely. And you know what? I think it's actually put them safe now. I think that result now.
I'd agree.
West Brom draw and 2-2 with Villa. Bottom three are out of it. They're not mathematically out of it, but they're out of it. Like Sheffield United are. But the other two are not mathematically out of it, but they're just that far behind with only 5 games to go. Game over. See you later. Relegation battle's over. Done.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good result by Burnley, and it was a great performance.
Yeah. Just before we start a bit of Liverpudlian therapy, possibly the worst game of the whole weekend, Man United Leeds at 0-0. Can I just remind people, and I was really bored stupid by this game. and
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. But it's fascinating to see. And I know we've talked about Leeds a lot this season, of how entertaining they are. One of the things, I wrote this down before, because actually they lost 4-3 at Anfield earlier in the season. They lost 4-1 at Leicester. They lost 6-2 at Old Trafford in the first set of fixtures of the year. Now, as it actually reversed, they basically got I can't remember now. Where are we? Did they beat Liverpool?
No, drew last minute.
Right, that's it. So they drew with Liverpool. They've got a result today against Man United, and they beat City. Leeds are actually learning during the course of this season to play Premier League football. And instead of being taken apart, instead of being completely obliterated when you're playing some of these top teams, they're learning, and they're learning very, very quickly, and they're altering their systems. They're altering the way that they play. They played for 0-0 today, and they succeeded. And I thought, do you know something? That it was boring as hell to watch, but I tell you what, they've learned their lesson, and they're not going to get turned over. And for next season, I think that could tell if Bielsa stays there. I think that's the biggest step forward I've seen in any team this season.
I'm enjoying watching Leeds. They're not afraid of anyone. They're not, and that's the type of team I like. It's like Tottenham a couple of years ago. I thought they were in the same boat. They weren't afraid. You know, they were almost like I considered them like Liverpool Part 2. You know, like But now it's like Leeds this year. I've been impressed with them, and then I've enjoyed watching them.
No, they've been brilliant, and I know we've spoken highly of them. I just thought from the possibly the worst game of the whole weekend, I've seen the biggest step forward in probably any Premier League club. I think City are going to win the league, and they've not got out of second gear basically.
They've won it. It's mathematically
won
it.
Yeah, they won it.
It's.
But Lee, I'm with on that, John. Leeds, as boring it was today, I was in and out. Didn't watch that all the way through, but I'm with you. I think the way they've learned to like defend hard as well as play the good football going forward. They've been able to learn that.
It was. I tell you what was interesting. It was the title "Dirty Leeds" was trended on Twitter, and I just thought, do you know something? I think probably a lot of Leeds fans were taking an awful lot of pleasure out of that because they've been rumbled. They've been rumbled a few times this season. I think they showed something totally different today, and I really do. I do think that they were. I don't know. There's something that they've learned. They've learned more. They've learned more from Bielsa this season in this league than anyone else.
I don't think United are as good as they think they are. They're not as good as what they think they are out the tables as they are. Next season,
Stephen, they're in second place in the league. They've got 67 points.
I don't care, John.
I can't argue with that. Everton are not as good as they think they are. We're in eighth.
Exactly. I know what you're saying, and yet the table doesn't lie, and I'm never going to argue against that because it doesn't. It really doesn't. But it's been one of them horrible, weird seasons, hasn't it? The fans haven't been there. That's why I was really made up with the final today. Even though it wasn't the greatest of the games for the fan, I was just made up to see the fans back in the stadium.
It was great seeing fans back.
Brilliant.
So can we missed one game out. It was just like a scrappy. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was a game where Diego Jota was assaulted, but that was ignored by VAR.
Yeah.
And also VAR decided that they would chalk off a Newcastle goal, which was definitely a goal.
That should have been a goal.
It should.
I thought that too. I was like, I felt kind of bad after they took that away. I was like, that was totally unintentional. Where is he supposed to chop off his arm? I was like, I was like, I felt bad. But then 2 minutes later, I was pretty pissed off that they scored.
Can I just say, because I know we've left this till last, right? But I don't know where Liverpool are at.
Neither way.
I just how on earth you score after 3 minutes, Salah scores, beautiful goal, took it very well, but they didn't do anything else. And actually, to be honest, Newcastle deserved at least a point, and that says something because of bloody.
The problem is all the missed chances, like usual. Again, I mean, we could have had 4 or 5. I mean, it's just. They're missing so many chances, and at some point, Klopp has to tell them, saying, how many chances do you have to miss before you guys start finishing? Before we start saying, okay, Mane, okay, you've had your chance. Now you're going to sit on the bench for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
exactly. Because that's what needs to be done. A little bit of tough love there, because yes, you stand behind your guys. Okay, when they're down, that's great. But he's done that. He has stood behind them. Now it's time to act. He's got to start plucking people.
Yeah, and he needs to stop putting Fabinho in the back 4 as well, doesn't he, Charlie?
Yeah, what the heck? I
mean,
you don't listen to Charlie, you don't get the results. You see, that's what it is.
His ink must have worn off on that letter. That's what it must have been. His ink, or he's throwing it in the bin. He's tried to do something, but everyone's going about Van Dijk's injured for so long. Well, the Van Dijk's in defence. The amount of chances we miss, like Sergeant says on there, is ridiculous. We have had 145 shots or something stupid like that and scored 4. That's pathetic. Pathetic in anyone's kind of measurements of whatever you want to put against it. It's just pathetic kind of return from shots. And I think I'm with you, Charlie. It's time the manager started saying, Manny, you're on the bench for a couple of weeks. I'm going to put these kids in. Do you know what, Salah? You've not been great either. I know you're our leading goal scorer, but I'm not being honest. It's not hard this season. You're off as well. Firmino I think Firmino takes a lot of the hit because he's not the goal scorer. He never has been. And I think it's wrong to label him as the goal scorer. He's the goal creator.
Exactly,
He's always a false number 9. He should be sat He should be sat behind 2 in the old-fashioned ways. You'd have 2 strikers. You'd have him behind the 2 strikers. That's where you'd have him. But now he's in a false number 9 where he creates the chances for the 2 wide people. Well, they're not scoring. In fact, I sometimes wonder, if we made the goals as big as a barn, would they be able to hit it? I don't think they would at the minute. I don't think they could hit a barn. So John knows what I want about. It's pathetic. And stop putting Fabinho in the back 4. He belongs in the midfield. Why you take it's just
the problem is Fabinho's good in the back 4, but then you lose that protection of Fabinho in the midfield. It was fine to do that when you still had Henderson, but Thiago's not pulling his weight there. No. What's his name? Number 5 is not pulling his weight there either.
Wijnaldum.
They're not the defensive midfielder that.
Wijnaldum's checking out his visa application to go to Barcelona.
No kidding. He's already gone. It's like I did like how he puts the 4 offensive players in there at the same time. One of them, they're all kind of like switching into the midfield. It's like
it was good.
I did like that idea that for a little bit.
I think what was fascinating with that Charlie though was Steve Bruce was playing with 10 at the back.
Yeah.
And he'd set up his usual defensive formation, and it was just like you like Kieran Clark, and good Championship player. He's not a Premier League player, and Clark himself, I think he got taken off, and they decided to be a little bit more offensive once they decided we got to about 60, 70 minutes. We're not going to get embarrassed here. And then Newcastle were a different team. They were just like they started playing football. They started playing expansive football. And you're thinking, if you'd have come out and started like that and played without fear and played without this whole sort of mantra of just like parking the bus and just not letting anything pass. Play football. That's what Newcastle are all about.
It's almost like these teams are finding out that if you let Liverpool have their way for 70 minutes, they're going to tire out. And then we win the game in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's almost what's happening.
Because we can't finish shots, because we can't finish our chances. We don't take them. That first half, we absolutely annihilated Newcastle. We just did. We could have put the game to bed. And I put a tweet out of that. It was probably a bit naughty when it said McManaman, you can tell he's a blue nose and stuff like that.
I didn't see that.
His commentary is just ridiculous. He come out with something, and it was this was the thing. It was irritating me the first half because Liverpool weren't taking the chances. Then I had to listen to McManaman. One, he's a Scouser. He's from one of the roughest parts of the city. He should have a really strong Liverpool accent, and he's done an elocution. That's one irritation to me, right? Then you've got him sitting there going, do you know what? It could have been 4-3, and I'm thinking, 4-3, it was 9 shots, and then Stack come up and it's Liverpool 9 shots, Newcastle 1, and I'm going, where's the 4-3?
Yeah.
Sorry.
If you've had one shot, how could it be a 4-3 game already? It's just like I remember reading that and it's just like, oh my word, talk about not having. Do you know something? I think we should audition for all these slots of all these co-commentators and all these people who are on the telly, just basically talking rubbish. Because I tell you one thing, we'd probably tell it how it actually is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's all we do on a Sunday night. We tell it how it is.
Yeah.
And can I just make your complete week come to a grinding halt before it starts? Because this time next week, we're going to be discussing Manchester United versus Liverpool next Sunday. Coming right up.
We're away from home.
I've looked down at the rest of the fixtures and it's just like, it doesn't really matter about anything else. We're talking Man United Liverpool next Sunday. Irrespective, we're going to have Man United fans extremely unhappy or Liverpool fans extremely unhappy or Nick not being a Tottenham fan again because they're at home to Sheffield United. Who were now the form team in the Premier League.
But what did I say the other week? Once they're relegated, there's no pressure.
There's not,
and it's gone to prove today that they ended up winning. So 2-1 Sheffield United.
I'll tell you what, Nick, it'll be one of them games. You know that £20 million misfit that they bought from Liverpool, who just like his name escapes me because he's just like a waste of space. You can guarantee he'll start and he'll score against you next week, won't he? You know,
and he'll be offside. And VAR will be like,
oh dear me.
You know what we haven't done, lads, is Mickey and the Goofy Awards.
It's dead easy. It's dead easy this week. I don't think there's been a week that's been quite as simple to pick out the Mickey. And the Mickey for this week has got to be Burnley.
Yeah, that's who I've got.
Got to be. And for the same reason, the Goofy has got to be Wolves. Because how on earth just concede 4 goals against Burnley?
Space. See, I was
reaching their 5th cup final and still not winning.
So could live with that. Could live with that.
But at least they got to a cup final.
Yeah, we did. We didn't.
Oh.
I'm still living in 1995.
See, yeah, you are 1990.
But that's then.
We won't do the song. But I had Wolves. I actually had Sheffield United down as a Goofy as well, and I'll tell you why. Right, not because they won. It is exactly because they won.
It's that.
They only scored 1.
They finally actually get the nail and the done to get the R next to them, and they decide to win the game. It's like, what are you doing, guys? You know, why? Why now? Why can you do it now when you couldn't do when you were fighting for your life?
Yeah.
No, I'm with Wolves. I think Wolves is a good shout as well.
How about you, Charlie?
For Goofy, I was just so ticked off at my own team. I put Liverpool. I had it. I had it with 2 draws that they should have won. especially in the last 3 minutes of each game. Is pretty much. And I was just like, that's it. Then they got the goofy. I bet in Liverpool is goofy, but I'm good for whatever you guys want to do. But I was upset. But yeah, we want to do Mickey too or not?
You can go for a minute.
Go on.
How about Burnley for Mickey?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Nick?
It's 4, 4. That's
I'm good.
Yes,
with
well,
Burnley.
yeah.
All 4 of us are saying Burnley. Who's your goofy? Spurs.
It's always Spurs. It will never change for the rest of the season. Spurs will always be good.
Oh, brilliant. So I've gone with Wolves. John's gone with Wolves. You've gone Spurs, and Charlie's gone Liverpool. That's to be Wolves.
Yeah, I'm fine with Wolves too. Yeah, because Wolves by 4. That's
I'm with you, Don Charlie. I'm with you. I think Liverpool deserve a good kicking for the last couple of results that they've had. Been 1-0 up, and they just can't seem to finish the chances, and they know they're going to concede.
you could see it on Klopp's face. Let's let that last. He just sinks. You see it after they score that last couple minutes. It's like
Yeah.
I bet he can't wait for the season to be over with too.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail on the head the other week, Charlie, when you said we're suffering the most with the fans not being there because that 12th man at Anfield it's so important. They used to say for years the Kop used to blow the ball out the goal and he used to suck it in. I've stood on that Kop. I've sat in that Kop as a young lad and growing up, and I know what kind of atmosphere can be in there. And I've been in the Gladys Street as well. At Goodison, that's a similar sort of stand as well over the park.
Yeah.
It's. I can't wait. Season, get the fans back in. It'll be great. I can't wait. That's going to be the biggest thing that we're talking about next season. I think
that Tottenham's new stadium, that great big stand that we've got behind one of our goals, they're going to name it after the Borussia Dortmund thing because they've got the yellow wall and we've got the white wall, but ours is mostly flags. Just white flag. Nah, no more. Finish. No, not shirts. They're flags.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, on that note, I think we're done. Aren't we? Like, we're over. We're 20 minutes over this week. Rant this week, honestly. It's been great, though. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.